A little chat about myself first. Gerry Creighton is my name. My first recollection of going to the zoo, I was 5 years old, a little boy, walking up through the Phoenix Park with my father, Gerry Creighton Sr. And, you know, he was the line keeper at the zoo. It was a big job of theirs, and you were so proud of being with him. But in them days, as a kid, you could go to the zoo with your father at the weekends. So we were going in through the Phoenix Park, and as we approached what's now was the Lion House or the Roberts House, it was a beautiful red brick building, from a previous generation, a Victorian building. But inside it housed all the big cats. And as we got near and he put the key into the door, you would see the cats pacing back and forward. Like the most exciting part of their day was now. The keeper was coming in. So it was some form of stimulation. So you walked in and this immaculate marble tiled floor and all these ornate structures from a previous generation. These big cats just pacing back and forward. Lack of stimulation, just confinement. And when you think of the days when we had our COVID and our lockdown and where we lost choice and opportunity and control over the days that we had, well, the cats had this practically all the time. So, we've changed and we understand a lot more about animals now and how they live and how they function, how they care about one another. But when I was 16 then, I started as a trainee keeper at Dublin Zoo. And it was amazing. The first day was with the elephants. And again, I went up to the elephant house with the keeper at the time, and he turned the key, and it was just this dark house, this dark, cold house, sterile bitumen floor. Elephants just moving from side to side, waiting for something to happen. And in them days, they were used, control was the method of training. If you used a hook or an ankus. And basically, the animals were threatened, and if they didn't comply, the hook was used. This was a method of training that went on for thousands and thousands of years. And even today, it still happens. But, you suppress these beautiful little neonatal animals are taken away from the wild. Their whole life is altered. They look like an elephant. They have a trunk. They're grey. But they stop. Their ability to think and live like an elephant finishes. So we wanted to do something different. We needed to change. We needed to understand, what we could do about the elephants. And I'm going to try and move on some slides. It's just, the history of Dublin Zoo. It's there from 1831. It's been a zoo for a long time with, incredible support from the public, 1.2 million people a year, conservation, education, all the key components that make a zoo modern. But this is like the picture of the first elephant that arrived at the Dublin Zoo. This was in Liverpool in the docks, like horrific. Probably on the boat for many months. And you can see it's like an animal that's bankrupt emotionally, physically, just destined for a life, The one thing about elephants, they have incredible charisma and personality, but because of their peculiarity, we're just happy to keep them under any conditions. Like it was awful. Again, this is the first elephant, cage in the zoo on the right-hand side. Awful. And you can see the keepers. This is the Zoo Society house. And these are children from a local orphanage. But on the left hand of the man, Keeper McNally, that's on the back of the elephant is the hook that is used for suppression and control of the elephants. Again, just some pictures historically. That's Sarah in 1950. The man on the back there is actually Jimmy Kenny. That's Pat Kenny, the broadcaster's father. He was the elephant keeper in the zoo for many years. But again, they were just almost like beasts subordinate, under our control and looked after. Like again, this picture celebrates the first Aer Lingus flight. These are two air hostesses. And this little elephant, again, it looks like an amazing, cute picture. This elephant would have been taken away as a baby, suppressed, altered its life cycle, its physical ability to express itself like an elephant was all being used for human development. But we had to change, we had to have a progressive thinking. And, it's the animals that have all the answers. The biology of the animal dictates how they live. And that's just a key component for modern animal and elephant design, particularly animal. They're incredibly smart. They recognize over 300 individuals. Their sensitivity, their empathy, their love for one another, like in a family unit, is absolutely inspiring. They look out for one another. They care about one another. Everything is about the integrity of the family or the herd. And that's what we've learned about without them. They don't live without that multi-generational support. I mean, this was the old elephant house. A wide range of husband and structural problems. Imagine keeping these two elephants in that house where they had no choice, no opportunity, no control over how they lived their daily lives. That was Judy and Kirsty, but eventually they went to a zoo in Neunkirchen in Germany to join another female, and it gave us the chance to be progressive and thinking. I just want to show you that quick picture in the middle, but you can see a deep pit there. And what that was the first time a sand was ever used for elephants as a substrate for them to lie on. It's a bit like memory foam mattress for elephants. It's deep, it's warm, it's comfortable. It integrates in with their body. They can just shape right into this amazing substrate. You think of an elephant with a tusk trying to lie on a concrete floor, or standing there. They used to have what they called foot cancer, or abscesses in the feet from standing in their own urine and feces for such long periods of time. So the sand floor was 7 foot deep, and it created these amazing opportunities for the animals. So the natural ecology, the biology, and the behavior is the key components now to keeping animals in human care. Like, I've started to talk to you, there's probably been 2 African elephants killed in the time I've started this conversation. Over 90 African elephants a day are killed for ivory. Like, it's incredible. There's less than 30,000 Asian elephants left in the world now today. It's actually got to the point in the wild where the tusks are stopped growing. It's a natural mechanism, but it's also because the big tuskers, which is the big males with the tusks, have all been shot out, and the ones that are left have no tusks. It'll probably be better for them in the long run, but a world without these magnificent tuskers will be terrible. So these are some of the key components that an elephant needs over 24 hours. This was always the mistake we made. We go home at 5 o'clock in the evening, close the door. But this is when it gets busy for the animals. So they need a whole load of, their biological needs, complex feeding patterns. They feed really, they have 100,000 muscles in their trunk alone. They need this complexity. The brain has to be working with the body. Massive big animals. Some really important points. And this is where we got to. Natural light cycles. They love waking up like we do as the sun rises in the morning and comes in through the roof of the house, a polycarbonate roof. You can see the beautiful deep sand floor, browse, trees hung up that they can pull and rip and tear and be allowed to express themselves as elephants should. And look at this picture. This is what does it for me. Saw this family of elephants on the sand pillow that we created the night before. They sleep wrapped around one another. The physicality, the ability to touch and hold one another is so vital to how they live. It's incredible. Like this you can see a perfect example of the sand pillow here. And these 3 little elephant calves knowing that they're safe and they're secure and they have an environment where they can live appropriately and live a dynamic, authentic life. Again, just some pictures of the complex habitat that we have at the zoo. Again, you can see the elephants being elephants, life on their terms, substrate, mud bats, wallows, sand, overhead feeding, all the opportunities that's needed. And I always tell people when they ask about, well, what does an elephant keeper or a zookeeper need to be? Well, there you go. It's the modern elephant. You're an architect of the habitat. You're out there creating the choices, the opportunities for the animals to express themselves every day, to live a real, authentic life. The substrates, the mud, the space, and all the things that they need to be behaviors. These are just some preparation of the habitat and the areas that we have. So what I'm trying to say, we've come a long, long way. I'll flick through the pictures, and then I'm going to show you some that will show you the evolution of how much we've got on. I want you to watch and witness an elephant birth with me. And I want you to think about your families. I want you to think about the support that's needed in these situations. This was an elephant calf that was born. His name was Kabir, and he was born to one of the older, experienced females in the herd. But the strategies are phenomenal to watch. The young females are pushed into the situation to hear the vital smells and sights and sounds. So it's all about giving them an education, a future as mothers, investing in their lives from a young age. The young bulls are slightly pushed to the side. They don't have a lot to offer. You know, they're going to live a solitary life at some point and drift in and out of herds or form bachelor groups. But the investment, the care that animals give one another, there's always a strategic reason. And it's either down integrity, respect your herd, protecting your territory, protecting your babies, you know, all the qualities that we're starting to lose as humans, but we need to get back. We need to get back in that vein of just being a family unit. As I said, some of the talks that the guys talked about, the community. Animals have a community too, and it's very vital and important for the structure of how they live. This is a multi-generational group of elephants at Dublin Zoo. So the keepers would have done extensive work preparing the habitat for them on a daily basis, where everybody gets choice and opportunity. There we go. So watch them coming out. Watch the intent, the movement, the motivation to do something good. You can see how they all disperse, all elephants of different ages and sizes. So we create the choices, the opportunities for them to live that lifestyle. There's root balls that they can smash and pull and tear. These are pine shavings where food is hid and buried in for them to use that brain. You can see the pipes. They've got holes in them for bending and stretching the joints and the legs and creating this wonderful thought process. So it's a quality of life. They have this choice and this opportunity to live this incredibly dynamic life. I mean, I'd like to say someday we won't need zoos. I'd really like to be able to say that, but I know the reality. I've been to Kaziranga, I've been to India, where I had to stop the traffic on the road to allow the elephants to cross the road. Human domination of the landscape. You know, scattered populations of elephants all over the world is the next problem that we have. But I'm going to go down to the bird process and just watch it. Watch the tenderness and listen to the sounds. Listen to the power of the vocalization as a baby stumbles to the sand floor and how she's welcomed into the herd. So that's the beauty of an elephant bird. It's a powerful moment. You can see how every herd member is involved. The integrity of the family is at stake here. It's so important that every elephant learns and has that future. So what my advice is, please care about the natural world. Please care about your own environment, your families. Look after one another, and together, both animals and people can have a brighter future. Thank you.